Sir Michael Caine, the Cockney kid who conquered Hollywood with nothing but grit, a distinctive voice, and unshakable determination, has starred in over 160 films across 7 decades. At 93 years old, he stands as one of cinema's most enduring icons, the man who gave us Alfie, The Italian Job, and the Dark Knight trilogy, the 2-time Academy Award winner who worked with legends from Sean Connery to Christian Bale, the actor whose career earnings exceeded $80 million and whose face became synonymous with British cinema itself. But behind the charming smile and that unforgettable voice lies a story not glamorous, but brutal, a story of devastating poverty so severe he didn't own shoes, of war trauma that haunted him for 60 years, of alcoholism that nearly destroyed everything he built, of loves lost and a daughter he barely knew, of watching his best friend die in his arms on a Korean battlefield, of being told he'd never make it because his accent was to working class. This is heartbreaking. This is shocking. This is the untold story of survival. If Sir Michael Caine has ever made you believe that dreams are possible no matter where you start, hit like as tribute to his relentless spirit. This is the story of a boy from London's poorest slums who refused to stay invisible, who turned rejection into fuel, and who paid a price for fame that few ever see. A story 93 years in the making. March 14, 1933, Rotherhithe, South London. The beginning was not marked by celebration, but by struggle. Maurice Joseph Micklewhite Jr. entered a world suffocating under the Great Depression. His father, Maurice Micklewhite Sr., worked as a fish market porter at Billingsgate Market, hauling boxes for pennies. His mother, Ellen Frances Marie, cleaned houses for wealthy families in neighborhoods they could never afford to live in. They lived in a condemned building, no running water, no electricity. Michael, as he would later call himself, shared a single room with his parents and younger brother Stanley. They bathed in a tin tub once a week. He wore clothes stitched together from flour sacks. Often, there was no food. I was so poor, he would later recall, that I didn't know I was poor. But he knew hunger. He knew cold. He knew shame. At age 6, World War II erupted. London became a bombing target. The Micklewhite family was evacuated to North Runcton, Norfolk, a rural village where city children were seen as inferior. Michael was separated from his parents for 6 years. He was placed with families who treated him like a servant. He worked fields. He slept in barns. When he finally returned to London at age 12, his home had been destroyed by German bombs. Everything gone. The family moved to a prefabricated council house in Elephant and Castle, one of London's most dangerous neighborhoods. Michael attended Wilson's Grammar School, but education felt irrelevant when survival was the daily priority. He left school at 15 with nothing, no qualifications, no connections, no future. He worked in a butter factory, then a plumber's assistant, then laying tarmac on roads. His hands bled, his back ached, his spirit nearly broke. But late at night, he'd sneak into local cinemas through fire exits. There, in the darkness, watching Humphrey Bogart and James Cagney, he found something dangerous. Hope. I wanted to be them, he said. Not because they were rich, but because they mattered. At 18, 1951, he was conscripted into the British Army. He was sent to Korea, to war. What happened there would haunt him forever. Korea, 1905 to Michael Caine saw things number 19-year-old should see. He served in the Royal Fusiliers during some of the war's bloodiest fighting. He watched friends die. He held a dying soldier named Donnie in his arms as life drained from him. I never spoke about it, he would say 60 years later. Not to anyone. He returned to London in 1953, broken but determined. He decided to become an actor. Everyone laughed. His accent was wrong. His background was wrong. He was too tall, too working class, too ordinary. He joined a small theater company in Horsham, earning £3 per week, barely enough for rent. He changed his name to Michael Scott, but another actor already had that name. Standing in a phone booth in Leicester Square before an audition in 1954, he saw a poster for the Caine Mutiny starring Humphrey Bogart. Michael Caine was born. But success? That was still 10 years away. He worked odd jobs. He performed in provincial theaters for audiences of 12 people. He lived in a Brixton boarding house where he shared a bathroom with 20 other men. He survived on bread and tea. He went to hundreds of auditions, rejection after rejection after rejection. "You'll never make it with that accent," they said. "You're not handsome enough. You're too old, too young, too tall, too common." Then came 1956, a small television role. BBC's Dixon of Dock Green. He earned £10. It was a start. By 1964, he'd appeared in dozens of forgotten films and TV shows. Nothing broke through. He was 31 years old and nearly gave up. Then everything changed. 1966, Alfie. The role of Alfie Elkins, a charming womanizer navigating swinging London, made Michael Caine an international star overnight. The film earned over $22 million at the box office. He received his first Academy Award nomination. His salary jumped from £5,000 to £50,000 per film suddenly. Hollywood wanted him. 1969, The Italian Job, $10 million worldwide. Iconic. 1971, Get Carter. His personal favorite, dark, brutal, real. 1972, Sleuth opposite Laurence Olivier. Another Oscar nomination. By 1975, he was earning $500,000 per film. He bought a house, then another. He bought his mother a home, something he'd dreamed about since childhood. He wore £2,000 suits. He drove Rolls Royces. But success came with a price he didn't expect. The first tragedy was alcohol. Michael Caine had always been a drinker. In the 1960s and 70s, drinking was part of the actor's life. Lunch meant wine. Evenings meant whiskey. Late nights meant champagne. But by 1975, it wasn't social anymore. It was survival. He drank to forget Korea, to forget poverty, to numb the constant fear that it could all disappear. He drank a bottle of vodka daily. Sometimes two. He'd wake up not remembering the night before. He'd show up on set hungover or still drunk. "I was killing myself," he admitted later. Slowly, deliberately, his first marriage, to actress Patricia Haynes in 1955, had already collapsed by 1962. They had a daughter, Dominique. But Michael was touring, auditioning, struggling. He barely saw her. When fame arrived, the distance became permanent. Dominique grew up barely knowing her father. She would later describe feeling abandoned. The pain in her voice during rare interviews is devastating. "He chose his career," she said simply. Michael has called this his greatest regret. "I failed her," he said in 2000. "I failed as a father." Then came the second tragedy. Friendship lost. Sean Connery, James Bond himself, became Michael's closest friend in the late 1960s. They were inseparable. They worked together on The Man Who Would Be King in 1975. They holidayed together. They understood each other. Two working-class men who'd conquered an industry designed to exclude them. But by the 1980s, something shifted. Rumors of a falling out. A woman involved. Pride damaged. Details remain unclear, but the friendship cooled. They barely spoke for 20 years. Losing Sean's friendship, Michael said, was like losing a brother. 1983 brought physical tragedy. Jaws, The Revenge. Michael agreed to star in what became one of cinema's worst films. He did it for $1.5 million, money he needed after bad investments. The film was savaged. Critics destroyed it. His reputation took a hit. But worse, he missed collecting his Academy Award for Hannah and Her Sisters in 1987 because he was filming in the Bahamas. He jokes about it now. "I have never seen it, but by all accounts it is terrible. However, I have seen the house that it built, and it is terrific, but the pain underneath is real." He'd traded artistic integrity for money. It haunted him. The darkest tragedy came quietly, privately. Alcoholism's grip tightened. By 1985, Michael was drinking from morning until night. His second wife, Shakira Baksh, a former Miss Guyana whom he married in 1973, threatened to leave. She gave him an ultimatum: choose the bottle or choose us. Their daughter Natasha, born 1973, barely recognized the man stumbling through their home. Michael looked in the mirror one morning in January 1985. He was 52 years old. His face was bloated. His eyes were yellow. His hands shook. He made a decision that saved his life. He quit completely. Never touched alcohol again. I went cold turkey, he said. It was hell. But Shakira and Natasha deserved better. But sobriety brought clarity. And with clarity came guilt. Memories of Korea flooded back. Donnie's face, the screams, the blood. What doctors would later call PTSD consumed him through the late 1980s. He suffered nightmares, panic attacks. He'd wake up screaming. He never sought therapy. Men of his generation didn't. He suffered in silence for decades. At 93 years old, Sir Michael Caine lives in Surrey, England, with Shakira, his wife of 52 years. Their marriage is Hollywood's quiet miracle. No scandals, no drama, just enduring love. He is worth an estimated $80 million, but money isn't what defines him now. Purpose is. He reconciled with Sean Connery before Sean's death in October 2020. They spoke by phone. Old wounds healed. When Sean died, Michael wept publicly. He was my brother, he said simply. His relationship with Dominique remains complicated. But with Natasha, now 51, he found redemption as a father. I got it right the second time, he says. In 2023, he announced his retirement from acting after bestsellers in 2021. His final words on screen carried weight. This is where it ends. But he hasn't disappeared. He writes his autobiography,